Don't I have that
I don't waste breath on an enemy. No room for negative energy. Nah, nah, nah. I hear them talking, don't get to me. Karma gon' catch up eventually.
Touchdown! Unbelievable! Vikings win it!
Nah, nah, nah. I hear them talking, don't get to me. Karma gon' catch up eventually.
All right, everybody, welcome in to Load the Box. I'm your host, Jordan Hawthorne, and we are doing a mock draft today. This will be the first video posted on the Load the Box YouTube channel, and it's going to be very excited. I am joined, as always, by Jack Day. And really quickly, before I pass it over to him and find out how his week has been, let me tell you really quick to go give us a follow on Twitter at LTB Vikings. One more time, that is at LTB Vikings. It looks like we're going to fall short of that 1,000 by the draft goal, but we did get, I think we're almost at 900, and Jack might have some more exact numbers, but follow Jack on Twitter at Jack_H_Day. One more time, at Jack_H as in Hudson_Day. And then follow me on Twitter at JHawthorne16. That is JHawthorne with no E, 16. And then Jack, go ahead and tell the people how you're doing.
Yeah, it's been an exciting week. Obviously, we haven't had sports since March. I'm not exactly sure on those dates, but the draft is here. You and I have both been extremely excited about the draft. We put in a lot of time and research into this draft as well. I think the past 7 or 8 shows we've done after that San Francisco loss in the playoffs have been focused on this moment, kind of leading up to the NFL draft. We've touched all of the positions of needs for the Vikings, so very excited to do a couple mock drafts tonight and just kind of play the role of Rick Spielman and Mike Zimmer, pretend we are in the war room. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit different this year of an NFL draft, and it's going to be somewhat similar to what we're doing. It's all virtual, so we might have a little bit of technical difficulties. We've started off the night with a little bit, so bear with us, but we will get there, and we're going to get through this mock draft and try to make it as fun as possible.
Yeah, and the we're not doing 2 separate events. We're not doing a mock draft for the podcast and then a mock draft for the show. We are cramming them all together. We could probably spend 2 or 3 hours tonight doing that, but me and Jack both woke. Me and Jack both have social lives, and we're still gonna make it fun. It's still gonna be a good time. But I've started recording, so this is the start of the YouTube video, I guess. Jack, just saying that for you. Are you ready to start the 2020 NFL Draft?
Yeah, let's get to it.
All right, it's going to be a good one. So I did change the pick speed to normal instead of slow. So we're going to let 10, 15 picks run off. We're going to pause it, go through them kind of quick, and then we're going to try and get to 22 and 25 as fast as we can. So with the first pick in the draft, the Bengals take Jeff Okudah. Oh, wait, no, they took Joe Burrow. We already have a difference in, this and the first draft that we started doing. So I'm going to let's get to the Broncos, and then I'll pause. The Broncos went with Henry Ruggs. So, all right, so here are the picks so far. I'm just going to kind of speed through them. Jack, feel free to stop me if you get to somebody that you feel we should talk about. Joe Burrow, I feel as though we've talked about him. Chase Young goes to Washington. Derek Brown goes to Detroit. They don't go with Jeff Okudah. It looks like he actually fell quite a bit. Isaiah Simmons, the linebacker, goes to the Giants. Jedrick Wills goes to the Dolphins, which actually that might be one we want to talk about. In this scenario, the Dolphins have, decided that maybe Jordan Love is their guy, or maybe they want to go with a guy like Jalen Hurts, or maybe they just want to wait until next season. Would you be surprised if the Dolphins passed on Tua tomorrow night?
I wouldn't be overly shocked. I've seen some rumors about it, kind of speculating that they might have some interest in actually trading up for another offensive lineman that they have fallen in love with, which would be kind of a shock to me. I don't know if there's that drastic of a difference between offensive tackle 1 and offensive tackle 2 in this draft. So I think that would be kind of surprising to me. I think They need a quarterback still. I don't think they have much faith in Josh Rosen. Maybe they do, but I mean, as of last year, it didn't really seem like they did. So I think if I was the GM for the Dolphins, I would go in the direction of Tua. I think also, if you want to scroll down on the screen so I can see the Derek Brown selection, that kind of surprised me. Obviously, he's a good interior defensive lineman coming out of Auburn. But that would shock me. I think that would benefit the Vikings. I think I would be okay with that pick because I think Jeffrey Okudah is the real deal, and I think they'd be missing out on a great cornerback if they went in this direction.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, and I don't want to say that like you draft strictly to beat teams in your division, but I mean, I don't think a big, large nose tackle is necessarily that much of an advantage over like a Dalvin Cook. Whenever we run the ball a lot to the outside, it's a lot of zone runs where it's bouncing outside constantly. So I don't love that pick. I like Jedrick Wills. He's fine and dandy. I just think if Tua's on the board at pick number 5, and like you said, if I'm the Dolphins GM, I'm gonna go that direction. But we're not NFL GMs, and also this isn't a Dolphins podcast, so Tua does go to the Chargers, who, replacing Phillip Rivers. He might sit for a season and really get fully healthy behind Tyrod Taylor. Then Javon Kinlaw goes to the Panthers. That's a really good selection, but I could see the Panthers actually going wide receiver. They have a lot of needs on that team, and it just kind of depends on where this new regime wants to go. Let's see. Arizona goes Tristan Wirfs, solid tackle, and Okudah falls all the way to 9, and he's going to replace Jalen Ramsey in Jacksonville. I really like that pick. If Jeff Okudah somehow lasts to 9, Jaguars fans should jump for joy, even though now it looks like they're tanking to get Tua. Moving into these last 5 picks or 6 picks, Xavier McKinney goes to Cleveland. I'd be very surprised if they don't draft a tackle, to be honest with you. I think that they need to protect Baker Mayfield. Andrew Thomas then goes to the Jets. C.J. Henderson to Oakland. So we might not even get the corner out of, what's his name? The defensive back out of TCU. He might be gone by the time we pick.
Jeff Gladney.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Gladney might be gone. I always get him and Jalen Nuigo confused. But CeeDee Lamb, first wide receiver taken. Mekhi Becton, another tackle goes in these top 15 picks. And then Henry Ruggs finishes out these top 15 picks. So, Jack, is there anybody in these picks that I just sped through that you wanna say a word or two about?
I don't think so. I think coming at this from a Vikings perspective, something to keep an eye on. All 4 of the big offensive tackles have already been selected off the board. I don't really see a reason for the Vikings trading up a few spots in this scenario. If a guy like Jerry Jeudy were to start falling, I guess we'll see how the board falls. But that's the only observation I have from this. Is the big 4 offensive linemen are all off the board or halfway through the first round. So I think I've read some stuff this week that they are expecting this to kind of be an early surge at the tackle position, which rightfully so. A lot of these teams need help along the offensive line, and there are 4 legitimate tackles that have a chance at becoming starters from day one.
Yeah, And this is a spot, too, where we're not doing trades in this first mock draft, but this is a spot where I think the Vikings would have to trade up with one of these 3 teams, because if we wanted to get a guy like Jerry Jeudy, because I have no doubt in my mind Jerry Jeudy is going to go to Oakland at pick 19, and if he doesn't go to Oakland, he'll probably go to Philadelphia. Even the Jaguars, even though that's not their biggest need. But let's go ahead, resume the draft. We're going to get all the way to the Vikings pick here. So, DeAndre Swift, that's a shocking pick. I don't think a running back will go that early in this class. So, Antoine Winfield Jr. is actually a first-round pick here. That's surprising. The Dolphins get Herbo. That's a good pick. Jack, how likely is it that DeAndre Swift goes in the top 20 picks, do you think, in reality?
That is really shocking to me. That really shocks me. I wasn't expecting that. And then I just wanted to go back as well to pick number 10 with Cleveland. Like you said, you think it's going to be a tackle, and I really agree with you on that. Xavier McKinney, them drafting a safety, there has been some speculation that the Vikings have been in talks with Cleveland about a trade involving Anthony Harris. If that were to happen, I think that's something to just keep an eye on. I think we are both lovers of Antoine Winfield Jr. on the show. A little bit of a surprise seeing him going that early in the first round. I was expecting him to be a late first, maybe early to mid-second round guy. If the Browns are desperate for a safety and we do get some sort of deal, maybe we can get a second-round pick for them and try to utilize that second-round pick on Antoine Winfield Jr., keep him in purple, or keep him in the state of Minnesota, give him number 26, and let him rock Dad's old jersey.
Yeah, I agree with you that it's surprising as well. AJ Terrell goes at 21, and Jack, if you look at the draft board, this is a very favorable draft board for a wide receiver needy Vikings team. I mean, we have our pick from Jerry Jeudy and Justin Jefferson. I personally, I think you know how much I love Jerry Jeudy. I think he's the best receiver in this class. My heart is telling me to click draft without even asking you a question because he's still there at 22. But you have to ask yourself, do the Patriots or the Saints take Jeff Gladney? Could this be a draft where we get Jeff Gladney, who I think Paul Allen said today is a Mike Zimmer football player?
Yeah, Gladney is arguably one of my favorite prospects in this entire draft. I think with both the wide receiver and the cornerback position, there's a lot of depth. I think you kind of have to attack it as a best player available, and I think that is Jeudy. I agree with you. In this situation, if I'm the Vikings, I select Jerry Jeudy. Wasn't expecting him to fall this far. I think you have to pull the trigger on him. He's so talented. Yes, there's a lot of talent at the wide receiver position in this draft class, but Jerry Jeudy is on the top of that. It'll allow us to kind of use the next few picks on other areas of need and then kind of maybe readdress that wide receiver position later on in this draft.
Yeah, so are we agreeing that it's Jeudy then?
Yes, sir.
So just for the podcast listeners at home, the reason Antoine Winfield went at 20 to the Jaguars is because I was incorrect. The the Las Vegas Raiders, that's going to be really weird. They didn't go with Jerry Jeudy at 19. They went with Grant Delpit. We will review the first round here in just a second, but yeah, the pick is in. The Vikings are going to take Jerry Jeudy out of Alabama, and he instantly, in my opinion, becomes wide receiver 1. Jeff Gladney just went. There he went. So this is a spot where if we were trading, we might trade out, but we go Jerry Jeudy. I think he would come in day 1. He would be like wide receiver 1. Thielen would play a lot in the slot, and then we would see a combination of B.C. Johnson and Tajay Sharp on the outside. I would be thrilled if Jerry Jeudy's there at 22 and the Vikings pass over him. I will scream. But now we're at 25. The Patriots took Justin Jefferson. The Saints take Jeff Gladney, so that does kind of suck. I was really hoping he would fall, but one of my other favorite defensive backs is sitting right here out of Utah, Jalen Johnson. For the podcast listeners, I'm going to go ahead and list a couple big names that the Vikings might take here. Josh Jones is available. Jalen Johnson is available. Ezra Cleveland, Denzel Mims, although I don't think we're going to go wide receiver back-to-back picks. Yato Gross-Matos is available. There's just, Cesar Ruiz is still available if we wanted to address the interior offensive line instead of getting a tackle. But, Jack, what are you thinking looking at this draft board, seeing Jeff Gladney go off the board?
Yeah, I think this might surprise you a little bit because we've kind of went against this a little bit, but I have started to come around a little bit on being a little more open to selecting a tackle in the first round and kind of knock that out. I mean, I think the thing that scares me a little bit about a guy like Josh Jones, he's still a little bit raw, but I think the talent is there, and the Vikings need as much help on that offensive line as they can get. I think we agree in some scenarios that Riley Reiff is capable. The thing with Josh Klein was really weird, but obviously Pat Elflein struggled. There's been rumors of Reiff moving into guard. I would be okay with selecting Josh Jones in this situation, but if a guy like Mike Zimmer sees Jalen Johnson on the board in the first round and he really feels strongly about that, I mean, we all know the history with Mike Zimmer and drafting cornerbacks in the first or second round. My favorite cornerback in this draft class, other than Jeff Gladney, I think has a chance at being available still in the second round. That's why I think I would potentially lean Josh Jones, because I think he is more talented than what we're going to get in the second or third round, and there are still some really good cornerbacks that are going to come off the board in the second round. So my heart tells me to go with Josh Jones, but I think I'd be okay with the Vikings either going with Josh Jones or Jalen Johnson. And I know, I'm sorry, we didn't even mention your boy Jordan Love, who is still on the board.
I was literally, the next thing I was going to say was, I just called you Josh because I looked at Josh Jones. Well, Jack, I'm picking Jordan Love because it's my computer and I love him. But no, I don't think it's really, when Cousins signed that extension, I was happy because it freed up cap space and took away the no trade clause, but I was so sad because it meant any hope of us taking a quarterback this year super early was gone. I could very well see the Vikings trading out of the first round to get extra third round picks and then using one of those third rounders on a guy like Jake Fromm. Apparently the Vikings are in love with Jake Fromm, which it makes sense to me. I know me and you don't love him. I think he's fine. I just don't think he's the QB of the future. I think we both compared him to Cousins a little bit in his play, but see, I will always talk about quarterbacks when it's draft time because I love talking quarterbacks because they're a symbol of hope. I think the pick here is Josh Jones because I think there are enough corners that we'll be able to get one in the second, and I just think that Josh Jones, put him day one tackle. We could bump. I think it's almost like attacking two positions at once because, we get to move a Leaf into guard and, everything's fine there. Hopefully we start Drew Sami at guard and then we can put Jones at either left or right tackle, depending on if we want to move O'Neal to the blind side. So I think the pick is Josh Jones. I actually agree with you, but I'm going to leave this one. I'm not going to click anything until you tell me who to pick because I was picking Jerry Jeudy regardless of what you said last time, to be honest with you. So it's up to you. I mean, Josh Jones or Jalen Johnson?
Yeah, I think my gut's telling me to go with Josh Jones. We both know that we need some help on the offensive line, and we'll be able to see how the board falls. That's where the fun of this comes, and I'm excited to see who's there in the second round. I think we can go a lot faster through the second round because once you start getting into the later rounds, you don't need to touch on every guy. But there are a lot of talented players that I think you could flip-flop with some of these guys that are going on day one. I think there's going to be a lot of guys taken on day two that have day one potential, but my gut is right there with you, and I think we have to pull the trigger on Josh Jones.
All right, with the 25th pick, Minnesota Vikings select Josh Jones. There it is. And then we're going to finish out the first round here, and then I'm just going to quickly recap it for the listeners of the podcast.
I did not know that Christian Fulton was available. I did not see that on your screen. I think I might have.
I also didn't see that.
That is weird. I might have had a different outcome if I would have seen that, but
really,
we're just showing the struggles of a virtual draft, and there might be some virtual struggles tomorrow. Hopefully not for the Vikings, but that is interesting because I didn't. I do
just want to say really quick. So yeah, apparently the Draft Network has Jalen Johnson rated higher than Christian Fulton, and apparently by quite a bit because we would have had to scroll down to have seen him, which is surprising because I think Fulton is a fine cornerback. I do like Jalen Johnson more than Fulton, just because I think Johnson is more he fits what Zimmer would want to do with a defensive back. If Denzel Mims goes to Green Bay, is there any chance he holds out because he's apparently a Vikings fan?
I don't think so, and that would kind of scare me because he has that freakish ability to become a good wide receiver, and Aaron Rodgers is just going to make him an even better wide receiver, so that would scare me, especially with the state of our secondary right now because we just went through the first round and we did not select a cornerback. So if you want to recap the first round, let's get to it, and then let's see who's there in the second round for the Vikings.
So just in case you're having a difficult time following along in the podcast, let's really quickly go through here. Bengals go Joe Burrow, Redskins go Chase Young, Lions go Derek Brown, Giants go Isaiah Simmons, Dolphins go Jedrick Wills, Chargers go Tua Tagovailoa, Panthers, Javon Kinlaw. Cardinals, Tristan Wilfs. That's a difficult last name. Jaguars, Jeff Okuda. Browns, Xavier McKinney. Jets, Andrew Thomas. Raiders, CJ Henderson. Niners, CeeDee Lamb. Buccaneers, Mekhi Becton. We didn't even mention that Gronk is back yet. We'll have to talk about that at some point during the show. Broncos, Henry Ruggs the third. Falcons, with the shock of this first round, DeAndre Swift. Cowboys go, I cannot pronounce his last name, Kalavon Chason out of LSU. The Dolphins get Hobart Lato instead of getting Tua. The Raiders get Grant Delpit, which scales the Jaguars into overdrafting Antoine Winfield Jr. Eagles get A.J. Terrell. The Vikings get Jerry Jeudy. Patriots, Justin Jefferson. Saints, Jeff Gladney. Vikings, Josh Jones. The Dolphins get Cesar Ruiz. I really like him as a prospect. I can't lie. The Seahawks draft Ezra Cleveland at 27. The Ravens draft Patrick Queen. Titans, Isaiah Wilson. Green Bay, Denzel Mims. San Francisco, Jalen Johnson. And then the Chiefs get Christian Fulton, deal low, with the last pick of the first round. And now we can kind of speed go through the second round, I think. I'm just going to let it go until we get to the Vikings pick, and then we'll kind of quickly... I don't know if you saw Jordan Love just went to the Colts. So that's interesting. They get Phillip Rivers' replacement. If you would like me to pause at any time, by the way, Jack, feel free to just shout out and tell me to pause. But it looks like we're up in about 5 picks here, and we will see where the board falls. So I think this is a spot where almost no matter what, I think it's going to be a Kono, if it makes sense. But Bryce Hall's the next best guy available, which I like Bryce Hall a lot. But let's go through really quickly and let's look at who was selected in this second round. So Kenneth Murray goes with the first pick of the second. Jordan Love to the Colts. Can you pronounce his last name? The Kono out of Auburn.
I know we made a game out of this. I think it's Noah Igbinohene. So I would say it, but I'm not 100% sure that's accurate either.
I think I agree with you, but Noah, I like him a lot coming out of Auburn. I think he's a solid Kono, but it might just be because he has a unique name, so I pay more attention to it. They go Kono there. Yatogos Matos. I probably just said that. It's probably supposed to be said a lot differently, and I probably just butchered it. But the Giants get a pass rusher. Trayvon Diggs goes to the Chargers. Cushenberry the third, the defensive tackle, goes to Carolina. J.K. Dobbins to the Dolphins. Epineza to the Texans. Marlon Davidson to the Browns. Neville Gallimore to the Jaguars. Damon Arnett, was that the guy that you liked, Jack?
Yeah, I really like Damon Arnett. And it's kind of weird seeing how this board has fallen. It's kind of been the most, cornerback heavy draft I think I've seen on the draftnetwork.com this far, which is weird. And I think if I would have known, if we would have saw that Christian Fulton was available, I think I would have taken that in the first round instead of Josh Jones, because
really?
I think there are, I'm pretty high on Fulton. I think he's legitimate. I think he's going to be a good cornerback. There's a thing about people coming out of LSU's secondary. They always seem to thrive in the NFL, and the film I've watched on him, I really like the kid. I think he can ball. And if you go switch back to the ultimate big board that isn't just cornerbacks, I think there's a tackle on there, I believe. Yep, Austin Jackson, who I would have been completely fine with taking with the second round pick for the Vikings. So I think I would have went cornerback in the first round over Josh Jones if I would have known Fulton was there. But I think you are right in this instance. I think we do have to go cornerback, but I'm not overly in love with anyone on our board currently.
Really? I actually like Bryce Hall a lot. I just sort of feel like we're overdrafting him. I mean, they have him ranked as 80, and I don't know. You get into trouble because we need defensive backs, right? We need Konos to save our lives, or else we're going to be lining up, Mike Hughes and Holton Hill next season at the defensive back position after we lost 3 guys in free agency. Really quickly to go back to the picks. Brandon Ayuk goes to the Colts. Jonathan Taylor to the Bucks. Cameron Dantzler goes to the Broncos. Zach Bond to the Falcons. I don't know why, I just forgot their team name. Jalen Rigo, the wide receiver out of TCU, goes to the Jets. Jonah Jackson. If Jonah Jackson was there, I might take Jonah Jackson and just cut Riley Reef because I like Jonah Jackson as a prospect a lot. Jeremy Chin goes to the Bears. Kyle Duggo goes to the Cowboys. A lot of people are super high on Kyle Duggo. Have you seen some of the hype for him?
Yeah, a little bit, but this is just another thing. It seems like the entire secondary was kind of overdrafted in this scenario. That I've seen Antoine Winfield Jr., who I'm a lot higher on than him. I've seen him almost fall to the Vikings as well. So it's been, this is a weird, kind of bizarre.
This is definitely fallen wheel.
Yeah, so.
Well, this is everybody wants to stop Patrick Mahomes, and they think the best way to do that is to get a really good Kono edition of the draft. But Jordan Brooks, the linebacker, goes to the Rams. Michael Pittman Jr. goes to the Eagles. Clyde Edwards-Helaire goes to the Bills. Matt Hennessy at a Temple goes to Baltimore. KJ Hamler, the wide receiver, to the Dolphins. Ross Blacklock to the Rams. And if Blacklock was on the board right now, I might consider making the sales pitch to take him to you, because I actually like Blacklock a lot. I think he's my number one after you take the guys, the top two guys out of it. So Jack, what are you thinking here? Because if we look at the regular rankings that TDN has, Austin Jackson's there, but we just took Josh Jones. And I'm a bad general manager or co-general manager because I did not make it known that Christian Fulton was available. And apparently I didn't know you were so high on him. I thought it was consensus that Jalen Johnson was the better of the two, but apparently there is some debate to be had there. We could go Jalen Hurts if you just want to, go balls to the walls, screw everything, but I don't think that's very realistic. I'm going to kind of scroll through here. What position are you thinking? Are you seeing anybody that's blowing you away that should not be here at the moment?
There's not a ton that I'm seeing. Normally there's people there in the second round where it's it's almost a no-brainer pick, but there's not a ton here. I know the Vikings have shown some interest. I'm not even going to try to say his name and read it off your screen. But they've shown some interest in the defensive tackle out of Texas A&M. They've had some conversations with him. I think the biggest bummer here is I don't think we can reach for one of those corners because I think one of those cornerbacks that you just pulled up on your big board is going to be available still in the third round. Bryce Hall might be gone by then. I like Darnay Holmes as well out of UCLA. There's a couple of them. I like Amik Robertson as well, but I would much rather prefer him to a guy that can come in and play on the outside because Robertson's kind of limited to more of a nickelback role. So I think personally, if you wanted to pull the trigger here on Bryce Hall, I would be okay with it. I think he has the talent. Who else? And another one that I do like as well. I like Troy Pride out of Notre Dame as well. I think.
Let me get back on that page.
I think there is some talent on this cornerbacks board, but I think we'd be reaching if we went for a cornerback right now. So I don't know where is your head at on this pick?
My head is. I wish we would have taken Kono in the first round. I understand why we didn't, but now looking back, I kind of feel like Josh Jones I think he's a good player, but could we get similar production out of Austin Jackson? Oh, even a guy like Prince Tegawanaho. I like him a lot, and it almost makes you wonder if maybe you wait to take a more athletic, type tackle, and you get one of those big-name Konos. I'm going to look at the big board really quickly here, and I'm just going to kind of – because I don't think we're going to – I would be okay with pulling the trigger on Matabuke, the Texas A&M guy, the defensive tackle, just because I think if you look at best player available and you also factor in we just took a wide receiver and a tackle – I don't think, we're going to go with Ashton Davis unless we trade Harris, which I don't think that's going to happen. At least there's no evidence of it right now. And I don't think we can go with a guy like T. Higgins here because I don't think we're going to be that aggressive at the wide receiver spot because we have Adam Thielen and we signed Tajay Sharp and BC Johnson is all right. So I'm leaning towards Matabuke and kind of going best player available that still sort of fits a need. But if you feel we should go with O'Connell, I will gladly, select Bryce Hall. Oh, we can wait until round 3.
Select him, and then let's see who's available. I think we can really go. I don't think we need to read all the picks in round 3.
No, not at all.
So let's select him and then see who's available for us in the 3rd round.
All right, and okay, I was making sure I didn't pause the draft. So Austin Jackson went 2 picks after we took him, by the way. Raekwon Davis, that's a bigger name. Aquara just went. Bryce Hall just went to the Panthers at 69.
Chenault in the 3rd round is kind of surprising to me. I think he has a lot of talent.
Let's see. Another Conal just went. I can't remember. I think it was I'm not gonna try and remember. I think it was down
Holmes out of UCLA. So
yeah.
I think if I'm reading this correctly, let's see who's available at the cornerback position. Yeah, I think with us mixing that up in the 1st round, I think the cards have kind of fallen into our hand here because I really do like Troy Pride Jr. out of Notre Dame. I think he has the capability of becoming a starting cornerback at the next level. He might take a little bit more work than some of these other prospects coming in the 1st and 2nd round, but Mike Zimmer is more than capable of putting in the work with a guy like that. And I'm pretty high on him. I saw something, there's a PFF stat I saw on him today. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was a very good coverage stat, so that got me excited. I think if I'm the GM in this situation, that's who I would select.
I'm A-okay with that. It based on TDN's rankings here too, we're not overdrafting because we feel we need to get a Kono. I think waiting ended up playing, like you said, it really played into our hands. It played into our favor. I think we pulled the trigger on Troy Pride in the 3rd round. Troy Pride Jr. Excuse me. Don't want to disrespect anybody here. So Jack, you want me to send the pick?
Yeah, send it through.
All right, just wanted to make sure. So let's see if anybody worth any. Oh, hey, we still have another 3rd round pick. I forgot we pick at the very end of the 3rd round. So that actually opens us up to take Jake Fromm if we wanted to. Let's look at the draft board here because this is actually a spot where I don't know if he's going to be here, but let me look up a player really quick. Nope, he's already been taken. Well, that sucks. Zuniga is already gone.
Yeah,
he's one of my favorite.
I saw him drop, and then Amik Robertson going right before us as well kind of hurts us because that's another guy I know the Vikings have shown some interest in. He kind of has a little bit of Antoine Winfield. One of the PFF guys tweeted out a video of him tackling, and it brought back memories of Antoine Winfield Sr. Exciting prospect, but it didn't fall to us. I think this is a situation where I'm not super high on selecting a quarterback. I think this might be I think I would prefer to take a quarterback a little bit later, and this would be a situation where I would be okay with trading back. I'm trying to look at the big board here right now. We're seeing it right now. It's such a wide receiver happy draft class. There's so much talent.
Yes.
Van Jefferson could become a stud. Brian Edwards is another big body wide receiver.
KJ Hill.
A lot of talent still at that position. We took our interior defensive lineman. I don't want to do that either. I think this is a legitimate spot where I would really consider trading back if we were doing trades. But with us not doing trades,
let's look at the edge market. Let's just take a peek at it because I do think that is a position of need. I almost wish we would have I don't want to say I wish we would have waited to take a Kono because we needed a defensive back badly, but that's kind of the issue with this team right now, I think, and that's why I've said many times on the show I'm not expecting huge things. There's a lot of needs on this team, and we're not even going to get rookie training or rookie spring camp and stuff like that because of this coronavirus. So I think there are going to be too many rookies that are going to have to stout day one, and there's going to be not enough time for them to really get integrated. So this is a spot where I really don't know where we go. Tight end isn't a need, but we could take Thaddeus Moss because he's Randy Moss's kid. We've already taken a tackle. We could look at doubling down on wide receiver in this spot. Van Jefferson's sitting right there. KJ Hill is there. Probably an overdraft to take Tyler Johnson full round ahead.
I think you could get Tyler Johnson in the 4th round in this simulation especially. And I honestly, I've been watching a lot of his film today, doing a little bit more digging. I wrote another article today, or another draft profile on Tyler Johnson. I think a lot of people, and I'm not just saying this because I cheer for the Gophers, but I think there's a lot of people out there sleeping on Tyler Johnson. I think he hasn't really gotten the respect his production should have earned him throughout college. Excuse me. PFF had a stat today. He's been the highest graded wide receiver in the entire NCAA since 2017 against one-on-one coverage. He's the number one highest receiver, and that was fascinating to me. I think he really is getting overlooked, and I know the Vikings have shown interest there as well. Obviously, he's an in-state prospect, so they're going to do their due diligence. But I think he might slip to the 4th round with how much talent there is in this draft class.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why I'm kind of having second thoughts on doubling up on a wide receiver right now, because there is so much talent there. But at the same time, I do like Van Jefferson, and I think I would be okay with pulling the trigger on that. We do need some safety help as well. I see that's what you're looking at right now, but I think wait.
I'm just pulling up positions, just kind of looking. A guy like Kenny Robinson, not Kenny Robinson. I'm an idiot, and I just read a name that I don't know that much about. A guy like Gilman out of Notre Dame. It wouldn't be an overdraft, but is safety that much of a concern? Do we consider doubling down at Kono here? Let's look at the picks that we've made so far. We've taken Jerry Jeudy, Josh Jones, Justin Matabuke, and Troy Pride Jr. Could the Vikings potentially overdraft a Kono here and get a guy like I'm going to try here, Ojemudia out of Iowa? I think I just butchered that last name, but I know the name. I've seen him play. I think we mentioned him in passing on our show, actually. Is this a spot where we consider doing that? Oh, I mean, what are you thinking here, Jack?
Yeah, I think that
way
might,
too much time.
We're spending too much time. Let's just go back to the big board. Let's pull the trigger on another wide receiver. I think on this board, I would be more than okay with either Brian Edwards or Van Jefferson. So I think those are kind of the two in my mind that I would like to pull the trigger on with this board.
I'm going to pull it on Van Jefferson then, because I like Van Jefferson more than Brian Edwards. So I'm pulling the trigger. That'll be the end of this mock draft. We'll do a very quick review, and then we'll get into the about, like 4 or 5 rounder where we will have trades, so we could trade back. And get that figured out. So I'm just going to skip here. We're just going to talk about the Vikings picks here. Jerry Jeudy, Josh Jones, those are the first-round picks. I think that's a very solid first round. I know we waited to take a Kono until the 3rd round, and maybe we didn't get a guy like Christian Fulton or whoever was on the boat at that time whenever we took Jones. But I think Troy Pride can come in, learn the system, and this can be a year where maybe the secondary isn't the strongest point of this team, but I definitely think because we added a guy like Matabuke, the defensive line I think is going to be very good with Michael Pierce and Daniil Hunter and all of the names that are on our defensive line. I think the offense is going to get better with Josh Jones, letting Cousins throw to Jerry Jeudy. And then we add Van Jefferson with that last pick with the second to last pick in the 3rd round, which I think just adds even more weapons for this Vikings offense to really, I mean, if they wanted to, they could probably start throwing the ball a lot more if we're taking this many wide receivers.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think the one thing, like you said, bothers me a little bit is missing out on a cornerback early, but I think realistically the Vikings are going to go with a cornerback in the 1st or 2nd round. Maybe they do decide to trade up in our situation as well so they can get a guy or get their hands on a guy like Damon Arnett out of Ohio State. He has normally been kind of in that area, the 50 to 58 range. So I don't know if it would take too much to trade up for him, but obviously it would have been a reach to take a cornerback where we were at in the 2nd round with who was available. So I do like Troy Pride Jr. out of Notre Dame as well. I think he is going to find success at the next level. I just don't know if it's going to be as fast as some of the other cornerbacks that are going to come off the board in the 1st and 2nd round. So
he's not a day one lineup as your number one. I mean, he's obviously not Jeff Okudah or C.J. Henderson. But I agree with you. I think it's a solid pick. I'm going to get the next draft set up here while you make that statement that you were about to make.
Yeah, I was just kind of going into a little bit more detail. I think the Vikings really need to address that secondary earlier. It's a huge position of need, and it makes it a little bit harder because Jerry Jeudy was available there, and we're both very high on Jerry Jeudy as well. And then obviously they need help on the offensive line as well. So there's a lot of holes on this team, but I really think with those 2 first-round picks, and then I do think that there's going to be some movement. I don't know if it's going to be moving back. There's been some rumors. Rick Spielman said that he's taking calls on moving both up and back in the draft. So it's going to be an interesting draft. There's going to be a lot of fireworks, in my opinion, and I'm ready to jump into this next one with trades. Probably going to make it a little bit faster. Don't need to discuss all the picks moving forward. We can just go over Vikings, do 4 or 5 rounds, and then we'll be able to let you get out of here.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. So let's start the draft. Obviously, the AI won't trade on itself, but Joe Burrow, Chase Young, Jeff Okudah, Isaiah Simmons, Jedrick Wills again. The Dolphins apparently hate Tua now in this draft. On the draftnetwork.com. Apparently, they have the Dolphins not as a fan of Tua. Let's see if they go Hobart with 18. They do go Hobart with 18. Jeudy just went. And the Vikings, I probably missed a chance to trade up there, honestly. But I actually like the way this draft class has played out because Gladney's right there at 22. Let me make sure, before I do anything, let's look at the wide receivers. Mims is available. Ayuk, Jalen Nuigo, KJ Hamler, Michael Pittman. Now we're starting to get into the second and third round guys, T. Higgins is a name, by the way, who I've really started to fall in love with. I don't know why. He's just like a big body Clemson guy, but let's go to Kono because I think that's where this pick's going to be spent. We can go Gladley, Johnson, Fulton. I'm just going to call him Noah out of Auburn. We really have our pick. We could go Trayvon Diggs if we wanted to. It's really up to us. Jack, what are you thinking to do with this 22nd pick?
In this situation, I'm leaning Jeff Gladney, slam dunk. Like you said, he's the prototypical Mike Zimmer cornerback. He's physical. He's got very good footwork as well. He stepped on TCU's campus, and he was able to make an impact right away. It's kind of surprising. TCU wasn't the best program in the NCAA last year, but they have a lot of prospects that are probably going to go within the first 2 rounds. So I really like the dog mentality that he would bring with him to the Vikings, and I think he's a slam dunk there at 22 if he's available. So I think I would go with Jeff Gladney.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's an easy pick. I'm going to send it in. 22nd overall pick. The Vikings go Jeff Gladney. Like you said, it's easy. Denzel Mims goes to the Patriots, and then Jalen Johnson out of Utah goes to the Saints. And the Vikings are once again on the clock, and this is a spot where you look at I accidentally clicked QBs instead of all. Grant Delpit's there. Josh Jones is there if we wanted to do that in the first round. And then I think if we were going to wait to pull the trigger on a position in this draft, I would rather see us wait to get a wide receiver than I would wait to get a Kono. Because I think the wide receiver, we were just in the late third, and there were guys there that, me and you both like a lot. Not to mention Tyler Johnson, who was buried down the draft board, who I really like.
So how does I haven't used the trade feature yet. Do we have trades lined up? Are there people trying to trade with us, or do we have to initiate the trade?
No, we have to initiate the trade. So here, we'll do a little pretend trade here. I won't finalize it, but this is the trade screen right here. You can't trade future picks, which I think is dumb, but I get it. I don't know if they didn't want people just cheesing the system and being like, oh, well, I really want, 1 million second-round picks or something, so I'm going to, trade all my picks next season or what it would be. But so we pick what pick we would trade. So obviously if we were trading out, we'd pick the 25. And then we pick a team that we want to trade with. So it could be like the Colts, if we thought the Colts might be interested, and we could pick that. And what do we want from the Colts to, move up here? Probably a second, maybe a third.
Yeah, see.
And then we could hit you want me to see if this works, a second and a third?
If they would be interested in that.
I agree with you here because we got a solid Kono in this wide receiver class, so they've denied us. So we can try and move it to a fourth and a fifth, or we can just try a different team. It's up to you.
I'm okay with either one. I think we could reach out. We could do a team that's a little bit farther down in the second as well. I don't want to go too far down, but could we go with a team, trying to think,
Browns?
Yeah, see what
Oh, is that too
see what
foul?
the Browns would have if we could get a second and a third or a second even.
So let's try and get the early third round pick for this first. We could actually also throw in like a late 7.
Yeah, sure.
Just to
Let's see what-
increase our chances or something. See if they take this. They've declined us, so we can actually take off this first third. We can get the late third. Is that something you'd be interested in?
Yeah, sure. Try it.
All right. So let's go ahead. Let's try and move back. There we go. So we moved back. The Browns are in the first round. The Browns moved up to get Grant Delpit. Cesar Ruiz. Man, the Dolphins have this down to a science at this point. Like, it is always like, we're going to take a tackle with the 5th pick, and then we're going to take Herbert, and then we're going to take Cesar Ruiz. Like, so Winfield Jr. went right ahead of us. That's kind of upsetting because that would have been a fun pick to make. But here we are. Jalen Rigo is available if we want to double down on the TCU guys. You also look at this. You've got Ross Blacklock here. Really quickly scrolling down for the people who are viewing this on YouTube, a couple big names that went. Ayuk went in the first round. No other wide receivers went besides Ayuk. Mims obviously went. But the Packers got Ayuk. Yeah, Jack, what are you thinking here?
Well, I was hoping that one of those tackles would still be available here, so I don't know who the next available tackle is. This might be
Lucas
a situation where we wait and see what's it like down the board a little bit for our next second-round pick. So go back to the overall big board.
Absolutely.
And a guy that I'm really high on, I would love to pair him with another guy. Like we said, we just got another third-round pick. So we now have 3 third-round picks and 2 seconds. I really like Jalen Reagor out of TCU. We'd select 2 TCU teammates with our first 2 picks. But there's a lot of pairings in this draft class of teammates. There's been a lot of prospects coming from these schools, and they're all higher-end prospects. But I really like Gladney, and I also really like Reagor. So I think if I'm in this situation, I pull the trigger on Reagor, and then I see who's available with our next second-round pick on the offensive line.
I agree with you. I think, is it Uego or is it Uego?
I heard Reagor like when on a podcast I was listening to this week, so I think that's how you say it. It was someone, I don't remember who I was listening to, but it was somebody. It was either on TV or a podcast, and that's how they said it. So that's how I've started to say it.
I will start pronouncing it that way, so that way we at least sound professional. So let's see. So I do think Uego's the pick. I do want to make the point that if you wanted to get trade happy, moving down again and then taking a guy, Chenault is projected to go around 54, so we could move back 10 or 15 picks and still potentially be in a spot to get like a Laviska Shenault Jr. or a T. Higgins, who I was just saying, I've really fallen in love with. Trayvon Diggs is still there. I'm just trying to go through the draft board really quick and make sure that, we are doing our due diligence and whatnot on everybody, but I don't want to have another Christian Fulton situation happen. But, Jalen Uego, he's the pick. We move back. I think we still get a very high-quality wide receiver. We get a very high-quality cornerback. And we, get an extra third-round pick out of all of it. I really like that move. And I think that's what the Vikings will end up doing. Damon Arnett just went. So that's that's a name that I know Jack really likes. I'm going to look really quick. Jonah Jackson went. I've already made it clear. I like him a lot.
This is kind of different. The other draft was really cornerback happy. It seems like this one, we had Austin Jackson available in our last one at this pick. And there's been like 2 or 3, 4 offensive linemen that have since been taken off the board. I think in this situation, a lot of those guys are still athletic kind of guys you're going to have to develop. At this point, we might, if we take a tackle in the second or third round, I don't know if there's going to be that much of a difference between them. I'm just trying to think. Who do you like?
If I'm making this pick, I like Matabuke. I like Matabuke a lot. I wish I would have paused the draft after like the Clyde Edwards-Helaire pick and tried to have moved up with Baltimore or something just so we could get Blacklock. Blacklock is my third. We would take 3 TCU guys. We are about to be the Texas Christian University freaking Vikings. But I know it's a joke or whatever. I really like Blacklock as well. But I like Matabuke a lot. I don't think it makes a lot of sense after we take Jalen Oego to go T. Higgins right after that, although I do like T. Higgins a lot. We can just kind of look at the board here. You've got Terrell Lewis. I don't love Terrell. I like Jabari Zuniga a lot in this draft. He's like the pass rusher that I want the most. Peoples-Jones is there. Willie Gay Jr. is there out of Mississippi State. And Jalen Hurts is there. If we really wanted to get crazy, we could take Jalen Hurts about 10 picks too early, according to TDN. But, I mean, it would be getting a backup quarterback who could potentially take over if we decided to move on from Cousins. I mean, what are you thinking at the moment, Jack?
I like your pick, Amadabuke. I would be A-okay with that. I think it shores up our defensive line a little bit. We got our corner. We got our wide receiver, and I think we're going to slide. Now we have 3 third-round picks. Still a lot of talent's going to be available in that third round. So I'm okay with taking that high-end defensive tackle, a lot of upside. I say I'm fine with sending the card in and going with Matabuke and then kind of seeing how the table falls into round 3.
So do you have any difference of opinion here between Matabuke and Raekwon Davis out of Bama?
I like Davis out of Bama. He's, if I'm remembering correctly, he's like 6'7". He's I
can pull that up really quick.
Big.
Oh my God, he is.
He's 6'7". He's kind of a beast. I think they're kind of intertwinable. I'd be fine with either or. I think his size really it excites me, and I think he's kind of a beast. But I'd really be okay with either or. And I know Matabuke has been in conversation with the Vikings, so for that sake, maybe we just go down that avenue because I know they have had like a FaceTime meeting of some sort.
Yeah. All right. So Matabuke is the pick. Raekwon Davis gets to go to Tennessee and practice against Derrick Henry.
Now this is where I really think things are going to get interesting. I really like the trade we just did. It does bum me out a little bit that we didn't end up getting a guy like Josh Jones to shore up that offensive line. But I think now that we have 3 picks in the third round, I think there are some athletic guys that, yes, they might need a little bit more grooming, but I think they have the potential to end up being a starting left or right tackle in the NFL.
Yeah, and me being selfish here, I pulled up the edges, and, I mean, you look at where the edges are falling right now. I mean, there's still a few guys that are ahead of Jabari down here. He's a guy that I'd really like to try and get with that third-round pick. But while on the clock, I paused the draft really quick because you said it was about to get interesting, so I didn't know if you wanted to try and trade up in this class. We can look really quickly here as we are pick 89. That is our next pick. Let me move back. And we're at pick 72. So we have 17 picks until we're on the board. Is anybody on this board right now, Jack, screaming that they need to be taken by the Vikings?
No one is coming to mind. I think the one that, I mean, Hurts is the one that I would consider it for, but I just said, like, I don't think the Vikings necessarily need to go there. I think you can get a guy like Gordon out of Washington State in the 5th or 6th round maybe. He's played in the air raid offense. He has a bigger arm than Hurts, and I think, I mean, it's going to be an upgrade over I'm not going to straight up say he's going to be an upgrade right away from Mannion, but he's going to be a project, someone that I think would bring a little bit more excitement to the fan base, which that's not necessarily what Rick Spielman and Mike Zimmer's job is, but having someone behind Cousins where there's a little bit of an excitement level I think would be a good thing. Not over-the-top excitement saying let's bench Kirk Cousins and start Kyle Slaughter excited, but someone that has played in an air raid offense, has shown that he can fit the ball in some tight windows. He's made some mistakes, but he does have the arm. So I think I'm okay with doing that and just letting this draft play out up to our point.
So I'll assume Curtis Weaver. T. Higgins just went. He finally goes to Jacksonville. Kyle Duggar in this draft lasts all the way to pick 76 when the Bears were taking him in round 2 last time. So we're about on the clock here. We're waiting. Jalen Hurts is a Patriot, and then Jacob Eason goes to the Saints. So we were this close, Jack. We were a pinky finger away from maybe being able to take Jalen Hurts without having to give anything up. But now that we're here, Matthew, I believe is it Piot or is it just Pote?
I think I've said part. I'm not sure if I'm 100% accurate on that either.
Well, he's available out of UConn. We've got Jake Fromm, of course. We've got an LSU offensive tackle in, let me make sure that I pronounce his name correctly, Shadiq Charles. We've got, let's see, I'm trying to name the tackles here. I guess I can just go to the offensive tackle page. Ben Bouch out of St. John, Jack Driscoll. Now we're getting way too deep. So you can see the drop off after these three guys. It's 83, 93, 96, and then 150. So, I mean, there's a big gap, I think, between these three tackles. I think now's when we pull the trigger on one, unless you have somebody here that you like, Mo, because we do pick again here in about 8 picks.
I'm okay with pulling the trigger on Part. I agree with you. I think we do have to address the position at some point. Why not go? He's the second best player available right now as well, according to the Draft Network's rankings. I'd be A-okay with submitting the pick here with Part.
All right, yeah, let's send it in. So that getting out of the first round has really benefited us, I think, because now we're picking again, like I said here, now we're 2 picks away, but now we're back on the board, pick 97. There's still a tackle here available. What position are you thinking here? Is this a spot where maybe we double down on wide receiver?
No, this is where I think we take your guy, a guy that I wrote an article about this week as well. I'm high on him as well. Give me the athletic Jabari Zuniga out of Florida. Get us some help. I know Ifeadi Odenigbo has done a phenomenal job. He did a great job last year at kind of filling that role when he did get the playing time. But we need depth at that position. We don't have a lot. We don't know if Everson Griffin is coming back. He said he wasn't, but now there's a little bit of speculation saying don't count him 100% out. We lost Stephen Weatherly as well. We need some depth there. I think Ifeadi Odenigbo is going to step up, but why not give Andre Patterson another tools to groom and see if he can turn him into Danielle Hunter 2.0?
So, would you rather take Zuniga here, or would you rather have one of the guys that are above him in his teammate Jonathan Greenyard or Darrell Taylor out of Tennessee? I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, Darrell Taylor out of Tennessee, I haven't really heard that much about. I have heard some about Greenyard. I still like Zuniga in this spot, but I'm just kind of curious if maybe you wanted to pull the trigger on somebody else at the pass rush position.
I like him. I think if I were to go another position right now, I think it would be Amik Robertson. I think that's the other cornerback that I would take right now. I would switch to the cornerback position. It would allow us to have a little bit more depth because he would solidify himself as more of that nickel-type role. We lost Mackenzie Alexander, obviously, and then it would allow Mike Hughes to play outside. Mike Hughes can do a little bit of both. I'm comfortable with him on the outside. I really like Amik Robertson as well.
Unfortunately,
he
Amik
was
Robinson
taken
went
even earlier.
Amik Robinson went about 4 picks before we got on the clock.
I did not see that. Well, then, yeah.
I pulled up the Konos, so yeah, I think Zuniga makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think I'm fine with it. Jump those guys. I've done more research on him than the other players, and I think, he's got the upside to be something special at the next level. He just needs the coaching. I think that's what Patterson would be able to help him out with.
Absolutely. Well, it's a good thing we took it. Well, it's not a good thing that we took him, but his teammate went a pick later because to the Patriots, and then Darrell Taylor went to the Giants. So, honestly, and then Khalid Kareem went to the Rams. So, if we would have made the decision to just wait and try and get him at pick 105, I think we would have lost him. So, I really like that pick. I fell in love with him when we did the pass rusher show. But now here we are. We have final pick of the third round. There's a tackle available. Kavon Wallace out of Clemson's available. Van Jefferson is available in this spot. I know we just took him, but I'm a fan of him. KJ Hill.
You know what? This might go. With us missing out on the top end talent of the offensive line, I think I'm more than okay. Just going best player available here. I think Charles has slid down a little bit farther than what I was expecting. If he's there, I think you'll be able to allow him to kind of battle for that starting spot, maybe move some people around into guard. If you slide Riley Reif in or you decide Part isn't the fit there, maybe he can play guard. I think it just gives us some options on that offensive line, something, frankly, that we just haven't had over the years. And I would be fine just since he's the best player available. I know there's a wide receiver that's still more than likely going to be available in the 4th round that I am in love with, you're in love with as well. I'd be more than okay with taking Charles here and kind of doubling up on offensive linemen.
I like the pick. I'm gonna send it in. I do think that whenever you're addressing a position of need later in a draft, like it's not a day one pick, I think kind of throwing crap at the wall and hoping something sticks is a good strategy. We get 2 tackles in this draft. We're going to let them come in. Now we have 3 options for who's going to play left tackle or who's going to play tackle this season. So letting this play out here, let's see. I'm trying to see if any bigger names are going. Reggie Robinson the second. KJ Hill just went. And now here we are, round 4. Let's see who's available. Gabriel Davis is available. I don't think that was the wide receiver you were talking about going with, though. I think the wide receiver you're talking about is supposed to go in about 9 picks. One, Tyler Johnson out of Minnesota, Big Ten receiver. Like you said, I can't remember if it was last. I think it was the last mock we did. You said, he's been PFF's highest rated receiver against single coverage in all of the NCAA. He's an in-home prospect. He's just really good. I mean, you can see it here in the pros from Marino at the Draft Network. Route technician that does well to set up his breaks. I mean, he's a good route runner. I think he fits here. I think he would buy into this, Minnesota forever mentality, and I really like the pick. Is that who you want to go with, Jack?
Yeah, and just before we do send this pick in, this pick screams the Vikings. I mean, yes, we got Rager, and we can pair those two together, and that's going to have our wide receiver core in some fairly solid hands for years to come. I think there's a chance we might see the Vikings decide to slide back even further and not select a wide receiver that early. But there's a chance that we could see just about anything in this draft. And I mean, if you look at – this was kind of what I touched on today as well in the article I wrote on him. You look at the Stephon Diggs. We got him in the 5th round. Adam Thielen, undrafted, obviously. Minnesota kid as well. B.C. Johnson was a 7th rounder. This kind of fits. He's in that 4th round. He's a Minnesota, coming from the in-state school of the Minnesota Golden Gophers, obviously. And he's a guy that's been overlooked. I don't understand why. I think there's a lot of people out there saying, can I please see a Minnesota Vikings mock draft without the Vikings taking Tyler Johnson? I don't see why that should happen. I don't.
It just makes too much sense.
Too much sense. He's very talented. He's been overproductive on the field. I mean, he's been one of the most productive wide receivers in the entire in the entire NCAA over the last 2 seasons. He's been very good. I am more than okay with pulling the trigger on him in the 4th round. It might be a little bit of a reach. I don't think he's going to make it to the 5th round. I think this is where the Vikings would have to take him, and I think he's kind of.
Yeah, if we were going to. Go ahead.
I think he's the perfect. I hate to say this right now because I think Adam Thielen still has a lot of gas in the tank, but I think he is the perfect kind of heir to what Adam Thielen brings to this offense. I think Tyler Johnson can turn into someone similar to an Adam Thielen-like wide receiver down the road.
Yeah, like you said, we've had Diggs and Thielen for 4 or 5 years now. I think this is kind of the toning of the page. We shipped Diggs to Buffalo. Adam Thielen's 31 years old. Let's get Rager and Johnson. And it's funny because it's like the same like dynamic of like one of them is the maybe like the better looking prospect of the two, and then one of them is the Minnesota kid who's going to bust his ass and the fan base is going to get behind. So I say we pick Tyler Johnson. If we were going to move down here, it would be with like the Jaguars. It would not be moving down very far. It would be like move down with the Jags, get an extra 7th, and draft a long snapper. It's not a move down where it's going to be a monumental thing. I say we just take him now. I'm going to send the pick in. I'm being very careful not to pick this James Poche, Devin last name guy.
Duvernay. There's a lot of don't get me wrong, there are a lot of talented wide receivers still on this board here. But Tyler Johnson, yes, he's going to have a soft spot in my heart. He's going to have a soft spot in a lot of the fans' hearts. But it's just bizarre to me that he's fallen this far and his name's not being mentioned. He's not the fastest guy. He's not the most athletic guy. Okay. Yet he did, according to PlayerProfiler.com, a tool that I've been using a ton of lately when I've been writing these articles, He had a breakout age of 19 that is in the 90th percentile, and that's a huge thing to look at when you're grading these wide receivers, is seeing when they kind of broke out, and he was in the 90th percentile on top of being super productive. I absolutely love this pick, and I think he's going to become something special at the next level.
Yeah, so we're back on the clock. I let that play out while you were talking there. The Bengals get one of my favorites. I like Gabe Davis out of UCF a lot. The national champions. I'm just a big fan of UCF and their program.
Can you go to our picks so I can see everyone that we have right now?
Absolutely, yeah. We'll actually do a quick little recap for the podcast listeners here. We start off the day by taking Jeff Gladney out of TCU. I think a solid pick. We're not going to get Jeff Okuda. I hate to say it. We're probably not even going to sniff C.J. Henderson. But Jeff Gladney, I think, is the third best corner in this draft. And I think him falling to 22 is a possibility for real life as well. We trade the 25th pick. We collect an extra third. We move back. We get Jalen Rager out of TCU as well. With the second round pick we have, and then we take Matabuke, 17 picks later in the second round, the interior defensive lineman. Pick 89 rolls around. We decide to go with Matthew Pout out of UConn. We're going to try and show up that offensive line position. We'll talk more about that here in a second. With the 97th overall pick, we take Jabari Zuniga, the edge out of Florida, potentially Danielle Hunter 2.0, SEC guy, didn't have a lot of production, but very, it's like physical specimens, so we get him. We then address tackle again with Sadiq Charles out of LSU, and then with the last pick that we had here in the fourth round, we take Tyler Johnson, and so far this is turning into one of my favorite mock drafts I've done so far. I think this is a very complete mock, and I think this sets us up for a lot of success in maybe next season, but definitely in 2 years.
Yeah, I agree with that. I really like this one as well. The one thing that does scare me, I think we do need another cornerback. I would have loved to see, I don't know where I would necessarily take another cornerback, but I think I would have liked to see at least one other cornerback taken by now, but there wasn't a ton there. I would be okay.
No, there's still not a ton.
I think I'd be okay with taking a guy like Harrison Hand right now. There's not a ton on the big board right now that jumps out to me. Anthony Gordon is that quarterback that I mentioned earlier that I would be more than okay with selecting at this spot. But I would be okay with Harrison Hand as well. He's a name that I don't know overly a ton about. I've seen him in some mock drafts. I've heard some people talk about him, and I think it'd be another project. I mean, we took a guy, Holton Hill was an undrafted guy, obviously. We've taken some seventh rounders. We haven't seen a ton of them play meaningful football yet, but they might have to after this draft. I think getting another cornerback that Zimmer can work with would be huge, and I would be okay with taking Harrison Hand with this pick in the fifth round.
Yeah, I agree with you. I pulled up his kind of, little like player page, if you will, here. And his best trait is physicality. His worst trait is he doesn't transition well, but I think we have the safeties that can back him up there. Also, you have to remember, we are in the fifth round. These are not guys that are necessarily guaranteed to bang out. I like the pick of Harrison Hand. I'm going to go ahead and send it in, all right?
Sounds good.
All right, so we add Harrison Hand, and now we can go back to the just all-around big bird and kind of look at this. I think Anthony Golden went a couple picks ago. Julian Blackman is a name that I liked. That was our last pick. So we're done here. And before, I'm going to pause it really quick on the Chiefs pick, I think. Yeah, so I'm going to pause on the Chiefs pick just so we can kind of look at the quarterback market for that sixth round. You look at it, and there's not a lot of names on here that make you fall. This is kind of one of those seasons where it's like, Cousins better stay healthy because I think Sean Mannion is going to be the backup this season. Cole McDonald would be the one name that I might take a chance on in the seventh. Shea Patterson is bad. I'm not even going to make the joke. I don't like Shea Patterson anymore. I've fallen out of love with him. So, but yeah, so a guy like Nate Stanley could maybe come in and be a backup, but I mean, he's just not very special. So that's kind of the QB position. And then you look at the wide receiver position as well. Gandy Golden is still available. He probably won't be for long, I'd assume. Tyree Cleveland is still available. Anybody else that's jumping off this for me or you,
I know
Jack?
Quintus, how do you say that? Cephas, he's at the top, the Wisconsin wide receiver.
Oh, yeah.
He's another guy that I've heard people talk about, mainly because there are people in the state, believe it or not, that are Vikings fans and went to the University of Madison. So just like myself, they have a soft spot for him. I think Tyler Johnson is the better of the two. I think Tyler Johnson's going to surprise some people when he gets to the NFL as well. There was one name
I agree with you
that was on the big
There's a
board,
name
J.R. Reed. That's who I was going to mention. He's got some Vikings blood in him as well, with his dad being a wide receiver for the Vikings in the Randy Moss and Chris Carter days.
You know what? I'm doing it. I'm going to trade up, and we're going to take him, Jack. We're going to give up our 6th and a 7th to the Chiefs right now, so that way we can. Oh, this is the Chiefs' last pick in this draft. Come on, Chiefs, be cool. There we go. We'll get the safety.
Cool. All right, now we got our project at safety for Zimmer. We got a little bit of depth at that position. That was much needed as well. But yeah, that wraps up.
Let's recap our draft.
Yeah,
Let's just recap it really quick. Obviously, I mean, this has been already, we're almost at an hour and 10 minutes. Thank you guys for hanging around with us. Hope you come back next week for, some draft results and talking about how the draft went and what we like and what we hate. Jeff Gladney at 22, I think is very solid. Jalen Nuigo at 41, I think is incredibly solid. I've seen him go in the first in a lot of mocks. Matabuke at 58 is also just I really like all of these picks. I mean, down to the J.R. Reed pick, really. Matthew Pote at 89, Jabari Zuniga at 97, Project Daniil Hunter prototype, Sadiq Charles at tackle. Just really attacking that tackle position. Hopefully one of these two guys can pan out. Maybe they both pan out and we have an elite backup left tackle, an elite backup tackle that could be trade bait, that could be a swing backup if we need that. Tyler Johnson out of Minnesota. I really like that pick. Like we said, it's kind of the Diggs and Thielen, but Youngo. Harrison Hand, a project for Mike Zimmer, and then J.R. Reed comes in. He has the Vikings in his blood. His dad played for us, of course, and we just kind of make a YOLO trade because I wanted to. We can't get Antoine Winfield, so we might as well get J.R. Reed.
Yeah, and Reed's not the most athletic safety. I think that's kind of one of his downsides. He is a little bit more of a stiff safety. But he started and he played at Georgia, and he was very good during his time at Georgia. So he's not a player that he's not going to jump out, and he's no Antoine Winfield, because Antoine Winfield Jr. has a special place in all of our hearts. But like you said, you keep the Vikings bloodline in Minnesota, you bring them back up here, and like you, I really do like this draft. I think. The one thing I think we did miss out on the interior offensive lineman. I don't know if there was ever the value was ever there, but like we've said, there's been discussions of Riley Reif being bumped down inside. Maybe we do end up re-signing Josh Klein for a little bit less money, and who knows? There's a lot of stuff that can go on in between the next 24 hours. There's still rumors that we're going to make a trade for a tackle. There's rumors that we're going to trade Anthony Harris. So there's a lot of stuff that can go down within the next 24 hours, and I am absolutely stoked for the draft tomorrow. It's going to be an absolute blast, and I mean, we could be 150% wrong with every single pick that we just had, but I'm sure as hell glad that we did it, because I have had a blast doing this, and it's just making me that much more excited for tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be an incredibly fun draft. Like I said, tune in next week where we will be reviewing the draft. We'll be going through the Vikings picks. Won't be as long of a show because we won't be, spending, some of the show talking about other teams' picks. We're not talking about Joe Burrow next week. We're talking about pick 22, 25, 58, and so on. And the one thing I do want to point out is that at any moment, Bleacher Report could tell us that the Vikings have traded for Trent Williams, and then our middle of the draft just goes to complete hell because I don't think those. Well, we might still take a tackle or two, or take a tackle in the middle rounds if we get Trent Williams. But I think we would have had the pick maybe where we picked Pout to take like a Kona or something. But this is the team that we have now. These are rookies. I'll scroll through them one more time here, just that way the YouTube viewers can see it. And, I mean, Jack, I think I'm good for this week. I'm going to let you end the show here, and then, we'll be done for the week, and we'll be on to draft night.
Do you want to plug the Twitter handles and also thank our musician that helps us out? Because I'm not sure if it's going to be on the YouTube channel or not, but that's another, if we do get some more eyes, I think it's cool being able to push them onto his music as well, because he's been super cool with allowing us to use his song.
Absolutely. So big shout out to Chase Dreams. He is a rapper that I went to high school with. I actually think he is a pretty good rapper. I actually enjoy listening to his music. He is not your typical SoundCloud rapper where, it's not very good music. It's like, a generic beat. He works with some really good guys. He's a really good guy. Big fan of him. So check him out. That is Chase Dreams. He's got an album coming out soon, and I'm sure I'll plug the hell out of that whenever it comes out. But make sure, I know I said at the beginning of the show, if you're new to the channel, if you're new to the show, go give us a follow on Twitter at LTB Vikings. Feel free to reach out to us there at any time. You can message us, and, if you hated this mock draft, feel free to comment on it or message us on Twitter and call us idiots. We will gladly, ask you your opinion on why. One more time, follow Jack on Twitter at Jack_H_day. Follow me on Twitter at JHawthorne16, and follow the show at LTB Vikings. For the YouTube audience, one more time, here's our beautiful mock draft, our little baby here. And Jack, that's all I've got this week.
Yeah, one last shout out. Obviously, we love this time of year. We've mentioned it on probably every show we've done that we've been looking forward to this weekend, because the draft is it's such a fun time, and I think it's gonna mean a little bit more to everyone. I think it's really been tough not being able to watch sports, obviously doing all these things for the right reasons, trying to stay safe and keep everyone else around us safe. But the draft, I think it's gonna be huge. The ratings are gonna be off the charts, and wanted to give one last shout out to the draftnetwork.com. They do some excellent work over there, and that's the site we were actually using tonight for our mock draft, and they've allowed both Jordan and myself to probably spend way more time than either of us would like to admit doing mock drafts over the last 2 months. So huge shout out to them as well. They have a lot of great content writers over there as well, so make sure to check them out. But other than that, I had a blast recording the show. If you're listening, if you're watching on YouTube, I appreciate it. Like Jordan said, please follow us on Twitter. We're trying to get to 1,000 followers still. We're almost up to 900, so we're making some progress. But this is kind of the next step in the Vikings hopefully being able to rebuild. It's been very obvious that they have a ton of holes that they need to fill in this draft, and it's kind of going to be a hit-or-miss draft class for them, because there is so much talent in this draft class, and there are so many needs that the Vikings have that they're going to have to hit on a lot of their picks in this draft class, whether that be in the first, second, third, fourth, fifth round. They've found a lot of talent. They've been able to find talent in the third round. They've been able to find guys like Stephon Diggs in the fifth round, and undrafted Adam Thielens and Holton Hills of the world. They've been able to find these guys. Anthony Harris is another undrafted guy. They've been able to do this, but it's important. It's going to be critical that they can hit on picks in this draft with the amount of holes they have on this team. So, having said that, appreciate everyone for listening. We had a blast in doing this. Like Jordan said, reach out to us on Twitter. Give us or debate with us on what you would have done in these situations instead. And most importantly, enjoy the draft this weekend. It is going to be a blast. Skol as always.